amazing quote. Be who you are and say what you feel, because those that mind don't matter, and those that matter don't mind.
All right. Quick little intro there. Here we go. Episode 9. GBG, episode 9. I want to thank everyone for joining me today. Going to be a good one, I think. I hope. That's up to you guys, whether or not it's a good one or not. I'm going to jump into some things. Just want to recap the weekend a little bit. As everyone who follows Twist, the Week in Sports Talk, our parent program, the one done with myself, GBG, along with Mike on the mic, and Matt Benzy's Bit. Did that on Saturday. Unfortunately, Matt couldn't be with us because he was quarantined earlier, or the week before he got diagnosed with Corona COVID-19. And I know I had some jokes about it. He's all right about the fact that me, Mike, and him do not live together. People were really concerned about us, and I appreciate it. But, there are people closer to him in his life that, are marrying him who, should be more concerned. And Taylor's okay. She's doing great. She never got the Rona. Matt's fine now. Matt's negative. So we're all happy about that. Happy to have him back on the show. Hopefully he does his Benzy's Bit here in a day or so. I love that. My phone just said that you're live now. Really? I didn't know that. So anyway, getting into that, Mike, after the show, brought his 4-year-olds over. They played with my 9 and 12-year-old. And a little lesson to parents out there. If your 9-year-old son is playing in his room with a 4-year-old boy, and he comes up to you and says, "Dad, can me and Parker do fill in the blank?" Probably about 95% of the time, what he's actually saying is, "Dad, we just did this. I just want to know if you're okay if we do it again." In this case, it was jumping on the bunk beds. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. It was Mike's little guy pretty much would follow around my son, do whatever he wanted, which is great. But that means that I'm now responsible for 2 people because I'm responsible for the 9-year-old. So a lot of fun, though. Kids went swimming. Good times had by all. All right. Let's just jump right into the episode. Sports Talkers. First thing I want to talk about is in this upcoming week from now, Tiger Woods will be competing in the Memorial. First time Tiger's coming back in a long time, ever since he took part in that event with Phil Mickelson, Peyton Manning, and Tom Brady. It's a good time. I'm excited for it. It was fun the past couple of months, actually, 6 weeks or so, watching golf without Tiger. You got to see some new faces, got to be excited. I know I talk about Bryson DeChambeau a lot because of his driving distance, but there are a lot of great stories, a lot of great golfers. It'll be fun to see how Tiger meshes with those guys. Yeah. Let me just read this. This is a guy, got a comment here. Don't want this to last. I get that a lot. Brandon. Dude, someone crapped all over your wall behind you. For those of you who are just listening, I do have a Packer banner. It's actually my son's. I filmed this show, broadcast this show from their room, from my son's room, where it's decorating all Packer stuff. I have an Rodgers doll I could bring out, but apparently I probably won't like that. So anyway, love the banter. I'm used to it. I live in Minnesota as a Packer fan. But no, I'm excited to get Tiger involved in this. I want to see how he meshes with the new blood. And it's always good to have Tiger back, get into the whole marketing thing with sports in a little bit. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the UFC. UFC had an event this past weekend on Yas Island. And to be honest with you, I don't know if it's in Dubai, Saudi Arabia, wherever. All I know is I don't watch the UFC. I'm sure it's a lot of fun. I have nothing against it. I just don't want to shell out that kind of money to watch something on a Saturday night. I have other things I can do for free or other ways I'd like to spend my money. What I do want to talk to Dana White about, Dana White being the Grand Poobah, the CEO, the big dog of the UFC, is you had me at Fight Island. Stop referring to it as Yas Island in blah, 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 in Dubai, in Qatar, and wherever it is. Just refer to it as Fight Island. That's awesome. You say Fight Island, it's like it's something you would hear the kids going to in Scooby-Doo. So it's a lot of just keep it at Fight Island. Next topic I want to get into is NBA officials, players, media. They're all going into the bubble in Orlando. Excited for that. I'm going to get into some more stories about that, but it is fun to see that they're all getting there now. All of the individual workouts, all the individual practices are wrapping up, and players are starting to go through the quarantine. And like I said, I'm going to get into that in a second. Next thing I want to talk about is professional and college football. Pro football is right on pace right now, but they did eliminate their entire preseason schedule. So all I have to say about that is don't be critical of your favorite team, whoever it is. I don't care if it's the Vikings, the Packers, the Saints, the Patriots, the Buccaneers. I don't care who it is. Don't be so critical of them for the first couple of games of the season. As much as people hate watching preseason football, what's important when it comes to preseason football are the practices leading up to it. You practice game time decisions, game time scenarios with your number ones before the preseason game. Now, your favorite players, your number ones, might not play all that much in the games, and that's great. That's fine. However, just understand that there's going to be a little sloppy play for the first couple of weeks. It's understandable. It's okay. College football, on the other hand, a lot of conferences are either canceling like the Ivy League, or in the case of the Pac-12 and the Big Ten, they're just doing a conference schedule. They're going to redo their schedule, and it's just going to be conference teams to eliminate the cross-country travel, a lot of unnecessary travel, so it's going to be a lot smaller schedule. Now, all I got to say about that is be careful what you wish for. I understand it, and I want to be sympathetic of the seriousness of Corona. I get it. It's important to be cautious of it. However, be prepared when you make these decisions and you understand that football is going to eliminate schedules. There's going to be less money involved. And what does that mean? Tuition's probably going to go up. I'm not saying this as a psychopathic football fan who doesn't understand anything and doesn't want to, see things. Hold on one second. Just want to see if there's a valuable comment here. All right. So my point is that tuition is going to go up. There's a reason why when you go into the SEC and to other conferences, the highest paid employee in those states is the college football coach. There's so much money involved, billions of dollars in TV contracts. So if those billions of dollars aren't available because they're not playing as many games and, money filters down in other college programs, understand tuition may go up. Some people may lose their job. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying it is the way it is. Sometimes you just have to understand. I might not, if you're someone who doesn't like football, maybe you're, a journalist, or, you're a chemist, or, physics major, or whatever the case is, your tuition is what it is, probably in some cases because of the football program. It is what it is. You have to accept it. So because they're not going to have as much football, and it's not going to be as prevalent, and it's not going to be as high profile, tuition may go up. I don't make the rules. It is what it is. So the next thing I wanted to get into, moving on, you're better than that. What I want to talk about in your better net is earlier today, or it was either last night or today, I don't know, I go to bed early. Russell Westbrook tested positive for COVID-19. For those of you who don't know, Russell Westbrook is an NBA player. He was tested before he left to head down to, the bubble, the NBA bubble. And people are criticizing it. I heard a lot on sports talk radio today, even regular media outlets saying, oh, this is a problem. We shouldn't be coming back this soon. A high-profile player just tested positive. Do you realize that this is the reason why they're doing this? This was actually a great thing. Not that he got corona, not that he got COVID-19, but that they detected it before he went into the bubble. What it tells me is that once they get into this secure environment, as secure as it can be, people are going to be safe for the most part. Now, I can't control what these people are doing once they get there, if they sneak people in or sneak out or whatever the case is. I'm not there. I don't know what it is. But what I can tell you is the reason why they're asked to go there 2 weeks in advance before they start games is, yes, practice. Yes, to get to know your teammates. Yes, work on plays. Yes, be ready for, the 8-game season before the playoffs once it starts. I get it. But the biggest reason is to get these guys tested, so when do start and people are sweating all over each other and towels are being thrown all over the place and all these other things, it's meant to not eliminate but lessen the chances of this virus spreading and give people sports. They're even going as far as to say that they don't want you showering in the locker rooms, that they want you to change into your uniform in your hotel room. That's how far they're going. It might sound ridiculous, but right now, what do people want? If you're listening to this show, I'm guessing to some extent you're a sports fan or you like my haircut. Either one, thanks for listening. However, what I'm trying to say is that these people are trying to do as much as they can, as ridiculous as it sounds. They are trying to bring us sports, and that's really all we want. And you know what? At the end of the day, whatever it takes, I appreciate the NBA for doing this, and I appreciate Russell Westbrook for being so vigilant about it. Hey, I got tested. Looks like I have to just hang back out for a while until I test negative, and then I can meet up with my teammates. Great. That's the attitude you got to have. So, what I want to get into next is my moment of Zen. My moment of Zen also talks about the NBA. I talked about it last week. We talked about it on Twist, the Week in Sports Talk 2 weeks ago. I think I talked about it on my show a couple weeks ago as well, not just last week. In respect to the Black Lives Matter movement, a lot of social injustice issues that are going on out there, the NBA has agreed to let players, if they want, to put different slogans on the back of their jersey, instead of their name. And this seemed like a great idea. And I'll tell you what happened earlier today, or it came out earlier today, and it was a sports talking point that I think made this issue about 100 times more important and 100 times more relevant. And I think the reason why is, and people are going to disagree with me, the fact of the matter is 2 high-profile players said that they're going to keep their last names on the back of their jersey. And one player said he was going to put Black Lives Matter on the back of his. Now, the 2 players who said that they're going to put their own names on the back of their jerseys are Anthony Davis from the LA Lakers and LeBron James. Why do I think that's a great idea? Because you can talk to, my co-host on Twist, Mike Reeves, Mike on the mic, marketing genius. What's the most important thing when it comes to marketing? Being relevant, being a talking point. LeBron James right now, and you know what? Maybe this was a mistake. Maybe he's got his own reason. But the fallout from this reason is going to be exactly what people who support whatever social injustice issue they want to support, in this case, let's just say Black Lives Matter. He just made the Black Lives Matter 10 times more relevant by not putting Black Lives Matter on the back of his jersey than if he would have. If he would have put that on there, or Anthony Davis, or any other high-profile player, people would have seen it and said, you know what, that's right. He supports Black Lives Matter. But what's going to happen now? Everyone's going to ask him at the end of every game, why don't you put Black Lives Matter? Why don't you put I can't breathe? Why can't whatever statement that people wanted him to support, they're going to ask him at the end of every game and every time there's a microphone in front of him. So what did he do? He made that cause more relevant by not doing it. Because in marketing, what's the number one thing? Being relevant. I remember a Super Bowl probably 20 years ago, back when, maybe a little more than 20 years ago, most of the commercials during the Super Bowl were .coms. This was in the height of the .com, the advent of .com, where all these companies spent millions and millions of dollars, and they were cheesy commercials. They were stupid. But what were me and all my friends doing during that time? We were writing down www.whatever.com. And then what did we do the next day at work or later on? We looked up what those websites meant. You become more relevant by having people ask questions. Now, on the flip side, a player that did come out and say that he is going to put Black Lives Matter instead of his last name on the back of his jersey is Milwaukee Bucks Kyle Korver. Now, I'm going to be tongue-in-cheek and sarcastic here by saying this, so please don't anyone get offended by this. Just by the name Kyle Korver, I think it's pretty obvious. He's a white guy. So what's he doing? He's doing the exact same thing Anthony Davis and LeBron James are doing, just in a different way. A Caucasian is putting Black Lives Matter on the back of his jersey. So what's going to happen? Everyone's going to ask him about his stance on it, his views on it, why he supports it. And he's going to have the answers to those questions, because if you are a Caucasian and you put, I can't breathe, or Black Lives Matter. You're going to know how to answer the questions about your support of those movements. So I've been saying this since March 11th, March 10th, whatever it was, when, the NBA shut down. The NBA has always been one step ahead of everyone else in this whole process when it comes to not only COVID-19, but these social injustice issues. And they're continuing on the exact same pace as they were before. So you know what? Kudos to them. Nicely done. All three of them, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Kyle Korver, and anyone else that's doing this, whatever you're doing. I've said this 1,000 times. In politics, I don't care who you vote for. Just have a reason for the vote, your own reason. Not Oprah Winfrey's, not Michael Jordan's, your own reason. What do you think? What do you want? In this case, I want to know what Kyle Korver thinks, whether I support it or not, and I do. I want to know what he thinks. I want to know why LeBron James, and I want people to ask him over and over and over again. You know what? Because it's bringing relevance to the subject. That's awesome. That's the point. Let's take a look at some comments here while I take a quick little break. Go Lions. Okay, I got go Lions, please. Okay, I can support a lot of teams in football. Sorry, buddy. The Lions ain't one of them. So I got another one. So I have to put BLM on my back of my show to show my sense. No, you know what? You don't have to do anything. Point is, whatever you do, it's great. Just be willing to talk about it. Have an intelligent conversation about it. And this is what we in radio call a transition outside the arena. So Deshaun Jackson made a comment that we talked about. Mike and I talked about it a lot on Twist, the Week in Sports Talk, where he talked about, he made a comment that really wasn't a quote from Hitler, but he claimed it was. And it was very disparaging towards the Jewish community, Jewish American community. And then Julian Edelman, wide receiver for the Patriots, who is a Jewish American, got on, I don't know if it was Twitter or Instagram or one of the other social media sites, and he actually called out Deshaun Jackson in an extremely respectful way, saying to him that he would like to take Deshaun Jackson to the Holocaust Museum, and he would then in turn go to the Black History Museum with Deshaun Jackson, and they could then sit around, have a cup of coffee, and discuss what they learned and learn from each other. That, my friends, is manning up. You know what Julian Edelman did, and I from the last I heard, and you know what, it's none of my business. So I'm sure hopefully it is the last I hear about it. Hopefully Deshaun Jackson takes him up on the offer. It would be amazing if he did. That he takes him up on the offer and they go after and they really discuss these issues. And Julian Edelman can, express to Deshaun Jackson how he was wrong, how it was offensive, and maybe Deshaun Jackson can talk about his ignorance on the topic, because ignorant isn't always a bad word. Ignorant just means without knowledge. There's a lot of things I'm ignorant about, but it's the idea of wanting to be educated. So, once again, I am going to make. Oh, hold on. I'm going to make the call. Another smooth transition. So, my transition into my challenge this week is have an uncomfortable conversation. I enjoy uncomfortable conversations. People say all the time, the two things that you never talk about at a dinner party are politics and religion. Those are two subjects I love to talk about with people more than anything else, and in a respectful way. I love talking religion, not from a standpoint of my religion's better than yours. Most people don't even know what my religion is. I went to a Catholic school. I'm the furthest thing from a practicing Catholic, but I want to hear about other people's beliefs. When it comes to politics, the same thing. Just if you don't know me that well, you probably have no idea maybe you might guess who I would vote for. But the one thing that I would never do is I would never vote on a straight ticket. For those of you who don't know, straight ticket means I'm going to vote all Republican or all Democrat or blah, blah. I want to learn. In fact, I've voted in the past several times and I've left some spots blank. Why? Because I didn't educate myself on the candidates, and I'm not going to throw away my vote on someone if I don't know what they're about. I'm going to learn about as much as I need to know, and I'm going to base my one single vote on that. But I think as a society, we need to have uncomfortable. For example, the Black National Anthem, or the quote unquote Black National Anthem on our show. And I started off by saying, I didn't know there was a Black National Anthem. I didn't know anything about it. That comment in itself is stating my own personal ignorance. Knocked over the mic. My own personal ignorance on the subject. I was flat out saying, I don't know about this subject. So what I would appreciate anyone doing is to say, email the show, email or send me a tweet, send a comment that says, hey, Greg, you know what? I happen to know a lot about this. I'm white, I'm black, I'm Asian, I'm Hispanic. It doesn't matter. I happen to know a lot about this. And I'd like to sit down and have a cup of coffee with you, a phone call, whatever the case is. And I'd like to teach you about it. Because that's what our society needs to do. We need to have more uncomfortable conversations. We don't go on social media and say, you're dumb, you're stupid, you're ignorant. No, I already said I was. So educate me. And if there's something you want to learn about from a 44-year-old Caucasian, love to help you out. But it's from my perspective. I only know what I've learned. And yes, I've only learned from the perspective of my life. I have not learned, what it's like to be a 44-year-old white guy from someone who had millionaire parents. I don't know what it's like to be a 44-year-old white male, grew up in California. I grew up in the Midwest. I had a very modest upbringing. I had loving parents who both worked, modest jobs. But at the same time, I can give you my life from my perspective and my perception of different things. And I feel that's important because we need to have uncomfortable conversations where there's no insults. I would like to ask someone of a different race who feels that they're oppressed, what do you feel oppressed about? How can we fix it? Because I do know some things. I went to college with minorities who were able to get financial benefits because they were minorities. I mean, there are grants out there that do that. And, maybe there's people who aren't aware of that. Maybe they are. Maybe they're not. Different. And that's just one. That's the tip of the iceberg. There's a billion different things I'd love to talk about. But my point is, I want to learn your perspective without insults, without especially sophomoric insults. Just, pretty much saying you're a jerk. No, tell me why. Let's have a talk about it. I'd love to have that conversation. So my challenge for this week is people go out there. If you have to start off by saying, hey, I'd like to have an uncomfortable conversation. If someone doesn't want to, you got to respect them. But if someone wants to, learn about them, but learn about them in a constructive way and respect other people and respect their views because their views aren't going to be yours and they shouldn't have to be. This world, America is great for what it is. And that's a whole bunch of different people that hopefully can get along and learning from each other. It's not my way or the highway. This is my way. I'd like to learn your way. You know what, folks? I really appreciate all the time. Thanks for joining me again. Hopefully we all learned a little something. I know I always do. Hopefully you did too. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Till next week. Take it easy. I'm out.